After a close win against West Virginia, were the Red Raiders able to keep up their winning ways against Oklahoma? Was Texas Tech soccer able to pull off an upset in Stillwater? A fight breaks out in the windy city of Chicago. And who has the best chance of making the college football playoffs? Find out next. MCTV Sports 101 starts now. Hey there, sports fans, and welcome to MCTV Sports 101. I am Austin Seat.
And I'm Ryan Heller. After a win over the West Virginia Mountaineers, the Red Raiders hope to raise their win streak to 2 coming into Saturday's game. The Red Raiders were throttled by the Oklahoma Sooners 62-28. The game started off good with a touchdown run by Sir Roderick Thompson. After that, it all went downhill as the Sooners scored 42 unanswered points, 21 of them in the first quarter and 27 in the second. Alan Bowman was put into the game in the fourth quarter, but before that, Henry Colombi had 227 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Next week, they will head to Fort Worth to face the TCU Horned Frogs on Saturday at 2:30. The game will be on FS1. Austin, what were the biggest problems against Oklahoma besides everything?
I'm gonna have to say the obvious. I think it was the defense. I think the defense. Well, actually, I'm not even gonna fully blame the defense for this one. The defense had its own problems, but I mean they've had their problems all year.
True.
But they did get stops for the Texas Tech offense. I just think Colombi against Oklahoma, for some reason or another, he couldn't get it going like he did against West Virginia and against Kansas State and again in the fourth quarter against Iowa State. For some reason or another, Oklahoma had his number going into this game. It's like you said, started off strong, Sir Roderick Thompson touchdown run. But after that, I mean, Oklahoma really tightened up their the defense and then tightened up their attack on Texas Tech and Colombi. I thought that Colombi got off slow, and by the time started off good, they actually started to getting off with they outscored Oklahoma 14-7 in the fourth quarter. But by then it was already too late. They had 0 points in the third. I think if they'd done that in the third and then gotten it in the fourth, then maybe they would have had a better shot. But I mean, I wasn't disappointed with Texas Tech. I think we all knew there was a slim chance we had against Oklahoma. But I mean, I'm proud of what they did, and I think against TCU they got to clean a lot of stuff up.
Oh yeah, definitely. And one of the things they got to clean up is definitely the penalties. You look at the penalty numbers: 2 penalties for Oklahoma to 11 for Texas Tech, which is huge, and another was 0 turnovers for Oklahoma, 3 for Texas Tech. And a lot of coaches, whether it's middle school, high school, college pros, a good majority of them say they're firm believers on if you win the turnover battle, you give yourself a better chance to win the game.
Yep.
And now, obviously, one of the interceptions, the first interception from Colombi, that was just unfortunate. You know, like I believe it was Cleveland was trying to catch the pass, it just
missed him.
Just missed him, tipped out of his hands, and then the Sooner just happened to be there. That's just unfortunate. But like the other interception.
A lot of fumbles in that game.
A lot of fumbles as well. It seemed like, and you know, look. I give Colombi credit. He tried the best he could. He was still able to rack up 227 yards. He still had 2 touchdowns. But also one of the big keys, for Tech was defense. Avoid giving up explosive plays against Oklahoma. And during the first quarter, that's all they did was give up explosive plays.
Right.
That was the problem.
Well, I mean, and you can't blame. I don't think you can put all the blame on Colombi. I mean,
you can't.
If you look at the stats between him and Rattler, they both threw for about 30 passes. Colombi was 15-28. Rattler was 21-30. They both completed roughly the same passing yards, 288 and 227 for Colombi. Both had 2 touchdowns. It was a good quarterback battle game.
Yeah.
But I think Oklahoma's defense just outshined Tech this time.
And
like
unfortunately, the defense was not able to help Colombi either.
Yep. Well, Texas Tech soccer came up short against Oklahoma State on Friday, 2-1. The scoring started off early after a goal by Macy Schultz in the 8th minute of the game to give them the lead. That later changed when the Cowgirls responded in the 43rd minute to tie it back. The game would stay tied 1-1 heading into overtime. That is where the Cowgirls sealed the game with a win in the 98th minute of play. The Red Raiders will return home to host the Texas Longhorns on November 6th at 7 p.m. The game will be streamed on Big 12 Now on ESPN+. Ryan, what's your take? And I apologize for my reading of that question. My goodness, I couldn't I had trouble there. I'm not going to lie.
We have all been there, buddy. We've all been there.
My goodness.
But you know what? I love what I saw from Macy Schultz. She's a sophomore. From like what I could see from the highlights, she was able to just like, I think it was basically like a straight shot. She completely had the goalie fooled. But here's where the big take on the game was the fact that Oklahoma State, yes, they fought him tooth and nail, but one problem was they just could not get the ball on the opposite side of the field. They seemed to be having it shoved down their throat so much. And I just look at the shots: 28-6, 12 shots on goal to 2. That is a big problem, you know, like because when you can't get it on the opponent's goalie side of the field, you know, like you put a lot of pressure on yourself, you put a lot of pressure on the coach, you put a lot of pressure on the goalie, Madison White, who, by the way, is the reason why there was an overtime with that huge save with less than a minute left.
Well, you mentioned the same.
her.
You mentioned the same. I mean, Tech's obviously struggling with something. I haven't watched enough games to find out what it is exactly, but here, I mean, Oklahoma State had 28 shots, 12 of them were on goal, compared to Tech, who had 6 shots and 2 were on goal. Like, that's a huge difference. But like you said, the Tech goalie had 10 saves in that game compared to 1 to Oklahoma State. Fouls were also played a big part in that game. Tech had 7, Oklahoma State had 8. The only 2 yellow cards, both of them on Tech in the 43rd minute. It says by a number 0. I don't know who that is per se. It doesn't list it. And then by Hannah Anderson in the 60th minute. But here's another shot. So corner kicks.
19-0.
I was about to say, 19 corner kicks for Oklahoma State, and Tech has nothing. That's a rarity when it comes to football or soccer, as Americans would say.
And that is a huge momentum swinger, by the way.
I agree, but like you said, Tech gets a goal in the 8th minute. You think things are going to go their way, but then Oklahoma State comes back in the 43rd minute, and then again in the first overtime in the 98th minute. So obviously Tech against this run of like top 10 opponents or top 25 opponents going into these past 3 weeks, they've played very good ball or football against these opponents. You can't fault them for that. But I mean, the record 1-4-2 and Oklahoma State 5-2-1. I think that's with the change. Tech's obviously struggling with something. I don't know per se what it is, and I would love to find out.
Well, it also doesn't hurt that like a couple of their goalies had been infected with COVID, so like they're down to not their starting goalie, even though Madison White's still doing a great job.
Oh yeah, she's doing a great job comparing to the situation she got put in.
Yeah. Well, now we are coming into week 10 of the college football season, and already we have some really good possibilities for the college football playoffs this year, and an interesting year for the AP Top 25 polls. You have teams you wouldn't normally expect in the Top 25, like Marshall, Liberty, Coastal Carolina. You also have Oregon and USC in the top 25, even though they still haven't played a game. We also might have some newcomers in the college football playoffs, as Florida and Texas A&M are creeping in. Austin, if you see any, who do you see as potential dark horses to reach the college football playoffs? Again, if you see any possible ones.
Okay, like A&M to me is a good dark horse. Like they're 4-1, but they're ranked they're ranked 8th in the nation right now. Now Alabama, they're in the same conference as Alabama, so and which I think is the one loss they have.
And so is Florida, and so is Georgia, so that's a big fight.
Yeah, so that's a big. But Florida is also 3-1. Georgia is not even in the top 10 right now. They are, I believe, I don't even think they're in the. According to the coaches poll, they're not in the top 25. Oh no, they're number 5. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't see them at first, but so they could be a sneaky dark horse. Notre Dame is obviously playing good football since they're in the ACC conference right for this year. They play Clemson next week, who will not have a Trevor Lawrence. Who will not have Trevor Lawrence. They're 7-0 and Notre Dame is 6-0. That could be a good game to watch, and that could possibly bump them up to the number 1 spot if Alabama and Ohio State don't do well either. Another one that I see slowly creeping up is Cincinnati, who's 5-0. Which I never thought I would see Cincinnati in the top 10.
Now they actually have a chance. Now the problem is Cincinnati
I don't think will have a good enough resume to get.
Cincinnati, they actually control their own destiny because yes, their last 3 opponents are not going to be like really resume builders. You look at Central Florida, Temple, and Tulsa, but their last 3 games are going to be on the road.
Yeah.
So like if they can win their next 5 games, they got Houston and ECU at home, but then they got 3 on the road. So like they control their own destiny on that. But other than that, I definitely agree with you. I think possibly A&M, possibly.
Well, we all agree that like this is the weirdest like set of what's the word I'm looking for here?
Circumstances?
No, circumstances, but I was talking about records.
Okay.
Like you have Clemson 7-0, that's nothing new. Alabama 6-0, but then you have Ohio State number 3, who's 2-0. Like yeah, they're undefeated, but do they really deserve to be number 3?
And Wisconsin's 1-0,
Like
and yet they're 10.
behind Notre Dame, no, like above Notre Dame, who's 6-0. Like yes, I understand Ohio State started late, and yes, I understand they're obviously a big powerhouse contender. But and then Wisconsin at 1-0, which if you have the AP poll, they're ranked number 9. If you have the coaches poll, they're ranked number 11. So it's obviously a weird one. But Texas A&M, Cincinnati, maybe even Notre Dame, if they beat Clemson, could obviously be a dark horse for any of these college football scenarios.
And possibly Brigham Young if they stay undefeated.
Yep. Well, this past Sunday, the New Orleans Saints defeated the Chicago Bears 26-23. But of course, that is not the only story about that game. During the 9th minute of the third quarter, a brawl broke out between Bears wide receiver Javon Wims and Saints cornerback, I'm sorry if I butcher this name, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Wims was ejected shortly thereafter, and the Saints would go on to win 26-23 in overtime. As we can expect, a likely fine and possible suspension could follow. Ryan, from your point of view, what do you think was going on between those two players?
Well, I saw it. I saw it from like different angles, and from what it looked like to me, first off, Wims was not thinking at all. He was not thinking.
No, he let his emotions get the best of him.
I mean, if you look at the replay, Chauncey had no idea what was happening. He punched him once in the helmet. He was like, "What? What did you do that for?"
If you watch the video, if you watch the video, he pulls the chain off, similar to the, I think it was the Talib Crabtree incident a while back. Pulls the chain off and then hits him with a first blow. And then Johnson's like, "What are you doing, brother?" And then he goes after a second one, and that's when Johnson realized, "Oh, wait, you're fighting me." So obviously Johnson didn't know what he had done, if he had done anything. And when I was watching that game, they show a play before that incident with Wims and Johnson kind of puts his finger between the face mask,
right,
and kind of like does like that, like the classic like yeah. But so that could have started it, but Wims, you got to have more self-control with that.
Exactly.
Chicago
he should have left alone. Short memory.
I mean, your team is like poised to be a huge contender for the playoffs this year. You can't be doing stuff like that. But.
And then also apparently, this just came in. Wims has been officially suspended for 2 weeks, and this is where it comes into play, where you have to think about the team. Yes, you can't let your emotions get to you, because now not only were you ejected in that game, you're not going to be able to help out your team for the next 2 games, which is also look. I'm sure your parents have told you this saying as well growing up. My parents told me the same saying. Most of the time, the people who finish it get caught, not who start it.
Yeah.
It's who finishes it gets caught. He should have left it alone. Now he's paying the price by hurting his team, being suspended for 2 games.
Yep, 2-game suspension. I believe it was a $12,000 fine. And I was trying to look, when you were saying that, I was trying to look through my phone to try to find it, but it was a $12,000 fine. So obviously a huge hit to to Wims. And I don't know if it's going to be a huge hit to Chicago. They've got their own demons sorting out. They're 5-3, still control their own destiny as far as playoff contention, but it's obviously it's now going to be closer because of what Wims has done. So
yeah, it was definitely just like a lack of common sense on his part. He should not have gone into that.
Yep. Well, now it's time for Who You Got. And if you can see by our scoreboard here, I've slowly creeping up on you, brother.
That's right. Now it's a competition.
Yep, 13-9, 12-10. I'm 1 game away. And for those of you wondering, wait, there's 1 game missing? Well, it was on our part, the Bucs-Giants game that we did last week still has not played yet. They're playing tonight. Obviously, we both picked the Bucs, so that'll obviously give us either a win or a loss. So, but moving on, for the fresh set of picks, to start off, we have the Green Bay Packers facing the San Francisco 49ers this Thursday night. Ryan, who do you got?
I'm going to go with the Packers on that one.
Yeah. Despite a loss to their rival Vikings.
I'm sorry, man. I still like what I see from Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry, man, but he's averaging, he's over 1,600 yards passing and 17 touchdowns. And I like the Packers are first in points per game. They are second in yards per game. They just got that real, true, high-powered offense. Now, yes, I know their defense is subpar. I'm gonna go with that. I'm not gonna deny that. But but I like that they are not just like in second years per game. They're top 5 in pass yards per game, top 10 in rush yards per game. So I don't know. I think the Packers are going to do well against Jimmy G. What do you think? How about you?
I'm going to go against you. I got the 49ers winning this one.
right.
I liked what I saw against Seattle. Yes, the San Francisco 49ers are 4-4, and I think they're last in their division. But that NFC West division this year is a particularly tough division. But I have got the 49ers in this one. I love what they're seeing. I love the comeback or the comeback mentality they had against Seattle. I got 49ers winning this one. This is a bounce back game for them.
Interesting. Okay, well, we will certainly see. Up next, we have the Boise State Broncos versus Brigham Young Cougars for a Friday night matchup in college football. Austin, who you got?
This was another tough one. This is kind of like that Ohio State, or was it Ohio State BYU?
Penn State.
Or Ohio State Penn State. But I've got Boise State in this one.
Okay.
I love what I'm seeing from them. They've got good chemistry, good flow. I'm going Boise State.
Okay, well, interesting. Well, I'm going with BYU, and also for a chemistry reason as well. You look at their receiver, their top receiver, Dax Milne, and along with the possible NFL prospect, Zach Wilson at quarterback. Apparently, these two have been roommates for a while. They were friends growing up in grade school, so like that chemistry's been building up for a while. And I like that Zach Wilson's averaging 300 yards a game and he's got 17 touchdowns. And by the way, Dax averaging 100 yards per game as well. And also, I like what I've been seeing from them so far. 7th in points per game, top 10. So I'm going to go with Brigham Young, and I don't know, man. I think possible top 10 next week.
Hey, it's an undefeated or 2 undefeated teams, 7-0 and 2-0, ranked 9th, or BYU's ranked 9th, Boise State 21. I'd love to see an upset here.
We'll see.
Yep. Well, on Wednesday, we have an MLS matchup between Orlando City SC and the Columbus Crew. Ryan, who you got?
I'm going to go with Orlando here. I'm going to go with Orlando because I like that they're top 5 in goals, top 5 in goals against, and they're one of the top in assists. And I'm putting my faith in Chris Mueller. 9 goals, 5 assists. I'm putting my faith in him, and I like what I'm seeing from them lately. If I'm not mistaken, standings. The standings.
Yeah.
Orlando's one of the top teams. So
Orlando's number 4. Columbus is number 3. Yep.
Yep. So it's going to be a good matchup. So I'm going to go with Orlando. What about you?
I'm going to be honest. This was one of those where I almost called it a draw, but I ended up going with Orlando with this one.
Okay.
Just because Orlando has a better win to loss record. I'm not including draws, just a win to loss record.
Okay.
I think Columbus has 5 losses compared to Orlando's 3. And people say they've played a lot of games. Why would you say that? Because Orlando has drawn 8 times this season. So it was really hard. As you can see, last 5 games, Orlando has lost 1 against Inter Miami CF, 1-2, and then drawn 2. And then the Columbus Crew obviously 1-2, lost 2, and then drew 1. So I almost called this a draw, but I'm going with Orlando on this one as well.
You know what? I was almost thinking the same thing. I almost did. I was like this close. But
I think Orlando is also and let me look at the standings here just to double check. They have 8 draws going in this season with 21 games played. That's the most I see right now. The closest one is Chicago Fire FC with 7. Or actually, Nashville SC also has 8. So quite a few teams are drawing in this season. And that could be because of COVID. We don't really know for sure. Anything's a possibility. But right now they're the highest rated team with 10 wins and 8 draws, 3 losses. I'm going with Orlando.
All right. And finally, to finish off, we have an NFL matchup Sunday night between the New Orleans Saints and another one against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Austin, who you got?
Oh, this is a good one because this is, I believe, and I'm going to double check here real quick, but I believe this is a battle for the NFC South, first place in the NFC South.
It would not surprise me. It would not.
Let me check. They're both 5-2 records. I wonder if I can get their conference records. Conference. Yep, that's not it. Where is it? I just saw it. Where is it? Okay. Okay. So maybe not because I think Tampa Bay and the Saints have played before, correct? Am I right on that?
Yep, both are 5-2.
Okay, both are 5-2, but the New Orleans South is a 4-1 conference. So this could be a battle for first place. We're not. This could change first place. They could not. We don't know. I'm going with the Bucs on this one. I love what I'm seeing from Tom Brady. I love what I'm seeing from Godwin, from Evans.
Scotty Miller.
Scotty Miller is obviously playing very, very well, showing to be a reliable target for Tom Brady, kind of like that Edelman, Amendola, Welker-esque type player. The running backs that they've gotten, Fournette obviously is doing a lot better with this team than he did with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You just picked up Antonio Brown. Not sure if he's. I don't think he's playing in this game either. But short turnaround. I got the Bucs in this one.
I think this one I'm going to go with the Saints.
Ooh.
Yeah, I do.
Which is understandable considering they just came off a big overtime win against the Bears.
Yes, which we actually just talked about.
Yeah.
And obviously, yes, I'm still picking the Buccaneers for the last game, but for this one, I'm going with the Saints. I like what I'm seeing from Drew Brees. I like what I'm seeing.
Taysom Hill obviously can show some versatility in this game.
Yeah, no, Taysom Hill, one day he's going to get a shot at being a quarterback. One day.
Yeah.
One day it's going to happen.
I don't know. He may move to wide receiver permanently. He looks like he's having fun with that.
Well, right now it looks like it might go to Alvin Kamara, who's actually leading the team in receiving and rushing. He's averaging 76 yards a game receiving.
See, this is what bugs I chose the Bucs to win, but I also have Alvin Kamara on fantasy, so I'm hoping I win both out of this. I get a good fantasy projection from Kamara and the Bucs win. We will see.
But I like what I'm seeing. So far, the Saints seem to also be a fully complete team like the Bucs, so I'm going to go with the Saints on this one.
Well, it's going to be an interesting matchup. I got that, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Bucs do in this quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Well, that's our show for this week's edition of MCTV Sports 101. Join us next week for the latest big name stories in sports. I am Austin C.
And I'm Ryan Heller. We will see you next time.
That's 3 times you've hit the camera.
I think it's twice.
No, I think it's 3.